And I'm Matthews Frank. Here at The Bigger Picture, we're all about recognizing organizations here on campus that you may have not heard of. So, it's the time of the show. We banter a little bit. We talk about how's life been. So, Kiara, how's life been?
Life is lifing. So far, I'm really enjoying that it's now spring outside. The semester's kind of wrapping up. Those projects, you're getting closer to the end of the capstone. And I feel like it just hit me this week with dealing with cap and gowns, having to pick up the order and stuff that the end is right there. So I'm just trying to stay strong and just, keep it pushing.
Can't relate.
It's okay.
Graduating in December. But I'm proud of my friends who are graduating. That's soon going to be me next semester.
Good. And I'm going to be back.
Yeah. But now that, time is coming up, me and Kara were thinking about how, we started this 4 years ago, and we're literally our second to last episode, and it's kind of hitting us that, that's it. Well, it's not that's it for The Bigger Picture. It's going to continue, but, here in the WTOP studio, the Al Roker studio, that's it.
We really hope, even post-graduation, maybe 6 months after, a year after, to kind of bring The Bigger Picture back in a newer and inventive way, I guess you can say, similar to how it was post-pandemic.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that, but I feel like it was a great run.
I feel like
the vision of the show that we had, it was really executed to the way that and it really happened out of nowhere. Kind of out of nowhere, it was unintentional, but it really worked out exactly how it was supposed to.
If you guys were to hear the original concept of The Bigger Picture,
it was all over, actually.
Yeah, we had the original idea was we were going to take anonymous letters from students on campus and then answer it from a student's perspective.
Give advice.
Or give advice, yeah, basically a ask, what's it called? The ask.
Ask FM, but it's we were trying to give advice. I'm right now I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm kind of winging it.
Mind you, we were first year students. How are we going to give advice when we just got
here? That's a great point. But this is why it is what it is today. We kind of overcome that. But before we even get into tonight's episode, let's talk about some upcoming events that you should attend if you have some time, of course, in the upcoming weeks.
So, of course, if you haven't heard already, the Latino Student Union and the Kumi chapter of Mu Sigma Upsilon Sorority Incorporated are hosting a charity kickball event on April 23rd. 10 days left. Let's go. So, this event will be taking place in the Lee Hall baseball field. All the proceeds that we make from this event will be donated to the Voices Foundation, which has worked to raise funds to provide scholarship assistance for migrant students and provide emergency assistance for farm workers and their family here in the Oswego community. So support for a good cause.
Right, we'll be there. So, do you guys remember that episode with Image, the Big Steppers? So, Image is Stomp the Oz. Step Showcase is slowly approaching. Join the Image Step team on April 28th at 6:30 p.m. in Murano Campus Center Arena for a fun night of stepping and more. Great entertainment, y'all. Tickets are now live on SUNY Oswego's box office, so make sure to grab yours.
Shout out to my people. If you're looking to partake in a community service before the semester ends, the Kumi chapter of Mu Sigma Upsilon Sorority Incorporated and Alpha Phi Omega, as they will be collecting donations to collect essential items for a women's shelter in Queens, New York. This will be going on until May 7th, and the donation box is located outside the point. So anything you have to give away, please help them out and do so.
Yes. And lastly, save the date for April 21st as 2.5 presents their 14th annual Raise Your Voice Teal Around the World. So 2.5 is looking for students interested in acting or being a part of their annual Raise Your Voice show by acting in some real-world scenes on sexual assault across the world. If interested, please email them at 2.5@oswego.edu or send them a direct message on their social media. This is a really great event. I remember last year, so I'm really excited about this year too. I actually want to participate. So,
so if you or anyone else you know is interested, join us. But stay tuned for After Break, as you'll be joined by a special guest that you don't want to miss.
Who is it gonna be?
Say, President Stanley, whenever there's bad weather, who would you turn to?
I'd turn to Storm Team 10.
No, but you've got to say it like this. Storm Team 10. Say it with me. Storm Team 10.
Jill
Sure,
told me it was
tell 'em.
Kitty from Glee. Yeah, what is it?
Al Roker. Welcome back. Tonight we were joined by Gwen Boozer. Gwen is a 20-year-old black trans woman from the South Bronx. She's a gender studies major and psychology major. On campus, she is an RA in Johnson Hall, a Title IX intern, and she does advocacy work for survivors of sexual and domestic abuse, and she volunteers in an anti-LGBTQ discrimination-based nonprofit called Campus Pride.
So, Gwen, welcome to the bigger picture.
Of course, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
So, to start off tonight's episode, what aspects of your life story has led you to where you are now?
I mean, as Kiara mentioned, like I grew up in the South Bronx. I was in a lower middle class family. I only had like really my mom and my dad to take care of me, and I had older siblings, but I went to a Catholic school, so I was privileged in the aspect that I went to a private academy. And I guess it took me a while to be like exposed to so much people that didn't like share the same beliefs as me.
Yeah.
That like all those encounters sort of played their part in a way that like I was able to like develop my own beliefs and become the person I am today. So honestly, while I was around like an environment that maybe wasn't as healthy as I wanted it to be, I'm thankful that I was able to be there because I wouldn't be where I am right now. So.
Wow.
Okay.
That I really do get that. And you also made a really good point that we were literally discussing this week, that like sometimes we don't focus on the privileges that we do have, the fact that you were able to get such a great education, but there were certain instances where you were around people that didn't, they didn't look up to, or just their values or their beliefs didn't align with yours, and you were still able to kind of overcome that.
Totally. And I think that definitely when I came to like SUNY Oswego, it was sort of like a culture shock in a sense, because like my high school, it was an all boys Catholic school. So it was sort of like the dynamic was just the same, sort of like people, everyone was basically the same, everyone had the same sort of beliefs. And a lot of like the men even in my school were like super like sexist, there was a lot of homophobia, transphobia, and they were very open about it due to the fact that it was a religious school. So when I came here and I saw so many like diverse people, so many people that were like trans, lesbian, black, white, Latino, whatever, and it was just like, whoa, like there's so many people like me, and that's why I was so like easily able to make connections with people around me, like even like Matthews and you.
So how do you feel like you going to school to an all-boys high school, how did that play a role in like you becoming comfortable with kind of transitioning into the next chapter of your life?
I definitely think that it took me like so long to be around such like negative people to realize I was nothing like those individuals. Like I would hear certain like different banters between like students and stuff like that, and I'd be like, I don't agree with what you're saying, and like I wouldn't be able to like defend myself, because if I defend myself, I'm gonna be the only one saying it, and no one else agrees with me.
Yeah.
So it's just like it took me so long to be surrounded by so many like negative people that I was just like, I need to get out of here. I need to be in a place where I feel more comfortable, where I'm able to express myself like freely.
And were you familiar with like SUNY Oswego's LGBTQ community before you came here, or was something that you kind of were exposed to as after you became a student and came on campus?
Well, my main motivation for coming to the school was like, initially I was a zoology major, and like Oswego was like one of the only schools that actually offered that major. So that's why I took this school, and it wasn't like my first choice or anything. So like when I came here, and then like I was exposed to like the LGBT community and stuff like that, and I made so many friends in my own community, I was just so like, I was gagged, literally. I wasn't like surprised. I was literally so surprised and stuff. So it was just like, I didn't know anything about it. Only thing I knew about the school was like, it offers zoology, and that was my only reason for coming.
Yeah, so I know you briefly spoke on it, that like you have been able to find the community once you came to Oswego, but do you feel like you found this community, but do you feel like the campus does a good job in creating a safe space for you and your community?
Oh, absolutely
Yeah?
not.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
I think that, especially me being the person I am, like I'm a black trans woman. Like if it's not like my transness playing a role in like the fact that I face oppression is my blackness. But at the end of the day, I always have to remember that regardless of how people perceive me, I'm always going to be viewed in a certain light because either my blackness or my transness. Like on campus specifically, I'm not going to say like I get hate crime left and right, but I do face a lot of like misgendering, like even at work, like even like my own like social situations in class and stuff like that. And like of course like it bothers me at times, but then I remember that even if I wasn't trans and I was a cisgendered woman, I have to remember that Black women are often emasculated, so it's just like they're always going to be viewed in that masculine light. So it's like nothing I could do about it. Like those are both factors that are fighting against me. But when you have both of them in the same person, it's like 2 times even harder.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I feel like I can definitely agree on the part where you said just being Black, period, is that part. Just because I remember when I was a freshman here in Oswego, literally like, I think it was 2 weeks after moving, me and my friends went to McDonald's and we were racially profiled, and it was like, we only been here for what, 2 weeks, and we were already being talked down on, and I don't know if you can agree with me or not, but it made me scared. Like I was definitely scared for what was to come next, just because of the color of my skin. So I definitely get what you're saying when you talk about just being Black in general.
No, like definitely, like my school at least, even though it was like really weird and like very negative, it did have a lot of POC, like mainly Hispanic people and a lot of Black people.
Mine too.
But coming here, like I was surrounded by so many white people. Like I wasn't used to so many white people, especially if I go to Walmart with my friends and stuff like that. I've seen like my friends of a darker skin color who are often like racially profiled, and even me too. And sometimes even on campus, like just the stares you get by certain people.
It's crazy.
They're so like scared of Blackness, but you also have to think about it like this. Like Blackness is so like cool to like non-Black people, and they love to share in that culture. But no one actually wants to be Black when it comes to oppression. They don't want to have to actually be Black. They just want to look it.
That's true.
That was a good one right there. You know, it ties in perfectly with the next question. So last week, it was a very controversial week in SUNY Oswego's campus, and of course you guys know what happened last week with the speaker that came to speak and the protest that happened outside, and it was a lot that week. So Gwen, I would like to ask you, how do you feel about the events that occurred that week? I know we were part of that protest. We were a part of the disagreements and stuff. So yeah, how do you feel?
I believe that I want to say that it's not in the administration's like power, the fact that like the speaker came, like they couldn't stop the speaker. You have to think about it like from this aspect. The fact that like SUNY Oswego, especially that speaker specifically, she has a reputation for suing many schools. And like it's not like SUNY Oswego is a very, very rich school, like let's be honest. So if another like lawsuit was to come, SUNY Oswego will probably be shut down. But I will say that having a speaker like that specifically set that spark. It's the same thing like, let's say like during the 2016 or whatever election with Trump and stuff like that. All these like racist people, all these homophobic people, they always existed. They were always there. But all you need is that spark.
One person to enable your
And they'll all just come out of the woodworks. And that's exactly how people are. And we've seen it on campus. A lot of people are experiencing like hate crimes and stuff like that now.
It's unfortunate.
And it's just like when you open the gates to homophobia, transphobia, whatever, everyone is just literally gonna come flooding in.
Yeah.
And I think that, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that it was also kind of disappointing to see certain organizations that didn't really show their face or present, especially when like, that's what I'm saying, like at the end of the day, no one is gonna defend Black trans women but ourselves. No one's gonna stand behind us besides ourselves.
Literally, I agree.
Period.
And what do you feel like, from the perspective of administrative, I know you said that like they can't really do much and bring, since they had no choice in having the speaker come to campus, but what do you feel like their response should have been more of to make the community feel like, okay, we're actually being heard, we're kind of, at least they're trying to take the steps to make us feel safe here, and like, from what I've heard is that's not what it's been.
One of my closest friends said that instead of the protest, we should have held something regarding like trans visibility, since I think it was around that time too. So I think that that was a really good idea, and I feel like the administration should have definitely like sort of did some sort of counter activity to her beliefs, because if you're inviting someone on campus who has constantly called the LGBT community demonic, what are you saying about how you keep your queer people on campus safe? Like, what are you saying exactly? You're gonna say that we're inclusive, we're very diverse, but there's all this diversity and stuff like that, but you're bringing someone on campus who has constantly spewed hate and negative rhetoric. Like, what are you saying about like safety of your queer students?
Yeah. I feel like that's why it's also important to have these conversations now, because we're also setting the tone for the future generations to come, for incoming students to come to Oswego and have this safe environment. So like, I'm glad students took the initiative to like have the protests, and like we're taking those steps towards building the environment that we would want. And I know even there's opportunities in Oswego. One very similar, you participated in the spring break alternative program.
Yes.
So what was that experience like? What was the work that you did with them, and how do you feel like what you learned there you can bring it to Oswego?
So basically there I worked with an organization called Campus Pride, and we did a lot of, the organization itself is dedicated to making campuses safer for LGBT community. So we did go through a list of different schools that have like Title IX exemptions and stuff like that, and basically have been discriminatory towards their queer people on campus. And there was like over 170 schools, like trust. And then we also worked on a list of like different schools that are actually safe for this community. Unfortunately, SUNY Oswego wasn't on there, but we're currently trying to work on getting it on there. But
that's why it's good you guys went too.
No, totally. It was kind of disappointing because I would think like SUNY Oswego would be the last school to do that, but then I understand as to like why it didn't happen, because there was something with like whatever leadership or whatever. So, and then we did they had like a lot of speakers come in, and they basically just talked about their experiences being queer and being in the workforce. Like we had a lawyer, we had someone in finance, whatever. And it was nice to see people like me who were like grown, like in the workforce, like in business and stuff like that. And even like a trans woman was there. And it was nice to like have a conversation with her and tell her about like similar experiences I am going through. We're both like the same.
That's really
And
amazing.
I thought she gave me a lot of like good advice regarding like things like dysphoria and gender euphoria, all of that stuff. And it was nice to hear from her perspective how it is to be trans and like how to deal with certain issues and stuff like that.
So just to ask a quick question. So I know that this was in North Carolina, to be correct, right?
Yeah.
So how it felt leaving the state of New York, going to a different state, walking around, being there for the week, you know, how was it like being in a different place?
And still being able to connect with people of like your community too. How was that?
Honestly, I was so gagged. Like, I was genuinely gagged. I was just like, there were so many like nice people. I'm so used to New York, and everyone knows how New York City is. Everyone is rude. No one wants to talk to you. They'll just keep it pushing. But over there, it was like a different energy, a different vibe. A lot of people were so nice. Like, people come up to you, say good morning, good afternoon, whatever, compliment you. And it was just so like cool. And especially someone as a trans woman, and going down to the South, you would think like, oh, like you're gonna face a lot more discrimination because people have very conservative views in the South, whatnot. But there specifically, and I don't want to generalize it for the entire South because I'm sure there are areas like that. But I'm saying in North Carolina specifically, everyone was pretty nice to me. I didn't face any like misgendering or anything like that. People just considered me as a woman, like a normal person. And I did really appreciate that because after being in New York so much and like constantly being misgendered, this and that, it's sort of like culture shock, I guess.
Okay. Do you feel like that was the most like rewarding part of the trip, or like, or were there certain highlights that you're like, if I look back to the trip, this is what I will remember?
I feel like I learned more about like myself when I was outside the like the program and stuff like that, because I was able to interact more with the real world. I'm more of like a hands-on person, so I like to see things like from my point of view and like actually experience it, because I feel like we learn more. And that's even like a school in general. Like we learn a lot in classes, of course, but it's all about experience. Because it's like it's one thing to read a book, but to put that into play is another story.
That's true.
So when we return from break, we're gonna ask Gwen a couple final questions. So stick around as we continue the conversation after break.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Shine on that boy.
Look at the bling. Look at do we got a diamond tester on? Yeah, that's getting bad. Yep.
10 out of 10 recommend on Yelp.
We scored? Yeah, we scored. We're going to the playoffs.
I can't believe I missed that.
Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone.
What? I should take your phone away.
No, I'll call for a ride.
Wait, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
Kevin, I need that back.
No.
Kevin!
Welcome back to the bigger picture. Tonight we are joined by Gwen, and let's continue our conversation from before break. So Gwen, being a part of the LGBTQIA plus community here at SUNY Oswego, is there anybody new that you met that you like, wow?
Or even you've known.
Or that you've known that you're like, wow, I appreciate you. Thank you for, supporting me and I'm supporting you, stuff like that.
I've met a lot of great people because I like to say that I have really good taste when it comes to friends.
Yeah.
But
that's how we got.
I wouldn't say that. But definitely, I think anyways, I would definitely think that Kay Jimenez is definitely one of my favorite people ever.
Shout out to Kay.
I definitely look up to her, even though she is younger than me. She has been trans longer than me, and it's nice to sort of relate to someone in the sense that we're both Black trans women specifically. And she's so passionate about what she believes and what she wants to fight for, and I've always looked up to that. I literally want to be like her when I grew up.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. We do love Kay.
Anybody else you want to give a shout out to?
Oh,
are there any professors that you work closely with that you feel like you were able to connect to as well?
Honestly, I wouldn't say any professors, but I will say Lisa Evanesky.
Oh, yes.
Honestly, I met her this semester, and I sort of got closer to her this semester, and I love how serious she takes her work, and I love just everything she does regarding her work. She's doing a lot of good for a lot of people who have been through so much. I'm also a person that has been through so much of the people that she works with and stuff like that. So it's nice to see someone who's actually willing to advocate for different survivors of different stuff.
What has it been like to work with her as a Title IX intern?
Honestly, amazing. I'm so happy I got the opportunity to work with her, and I'm still excited because I'm still gonna be interning with her next semester, thankfully.
Okay, that's great.
So she's just really, really sweet. She's very caring. She's very understanding, which I love, because you can't say that about a lot of people on campus.
That's true. Do you feel like in the SUNY Oswego, in the courses you've taken over time, even being a gender and women's studies major, do you feel like the curriculum has fit to bring forth inclusivity for you and your community? Do you feel like there's some type of representation there should be more of?
I think that this representation is definitely kept at a minimum. I want to say that I have taken many feminist theory classes that have covered different queer topics, but there's not enough courses that heavily focus on queer studies. There should be courses dedicated to queer history, LGBT writers, stuff like that. And I feel we definitely need to work towards making more courses focused on that. So yeah.
I feel I'm gonna bring it up since we're on the same class, but I feel Jennifer Fogel's class that we're in right now. There was I don't remember when I think last week where we focused on how LGBTQIA plus community is focused in the media and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that was a really good class. She did her thing when it came to showing some proof of here's the good, here's the bad, here's the in between. How do you feel about that?
I think that I'm glad that she brought it up, and I thought it was a really good lecture. But it's one thing to have one class about it, but it's one thing to have an entire course
focused on it. Yep.
You know what I mean? There's so much you can explain, so much you can learn from that. So.
You know what I feel there should be more a conversation about, even if students should have the opportunity as well too, or maybe we do, I just don't know of it, to basically submit proposals of some of the courses that we feel need to be talked about in the SUNY Oswego community, because a lot of people's beliefs and values that they bring to the campus community, it's also going to translate into the interactions we have with one another. And if you're not altering that mindset now through the textbooks, through further research resources, it's what is it that we're doing? When are we going to start doing it?
I actually found out that today from my advisor that there is independent studies that students can focus on and earn credits towards. So if you feel there is a subject that you want to just have this semester and it's a semester long project that you want to do research on, write papers and stuff like that, you can talk to your advisor about it and it could actually be a thing. I know I'm
Oh,
gonna
I didn't
take one
know
next semester coming up, so I feel like if that relates back to your question, like if anybody wants to focus heavily on something, there's the private, not the private studies, the individual studies.
That's actually
Yeah.
interesting that you mentioned that because next semester, like my internship supposed to be dedicated to sort of getting SUNY Oswego on the Campus Pride. It's going to be an LGBTQ focused project, so
Good.
that will be in the works in the
I'm
future.
excited to see everything how it turns out too, especially because now you're like planting the seed right
Yeah.
here on the bigger picture. And then, you know, even post grad, I'm going to be keeping up with you and to
Of
continue to see
course.
the great things you're doing.
So with the final time we have here left on the show, is there any advice you would like to give out there to anybody watching and anybody who can relate to your story?
I would say never lose vision of who you are or who you want to be. I think that we tend to get caught up in like societal standards and like trying to appease certain people, like even maybe family, friends, whatever. And I feel like during those processes, we tend to lose like who we actually are. And I think that I went through something like that in which like I tried to like appease to society standards. I tried to appease to my parents and stuff like that. And then I thought to myself, why am I doing this? Because I'm losing myself. So I think honestly, just stay true to yourself. Like that's the best advice I could give. And I know it sounds sort of cliche, but
No, but it's
honestly,
true.
it's deep and it's
It's
real.
That's your form of self-care.
Yeah.
You just take it. That's your way of taking care of yourself, because if you're not going to do it, no one else will. So just taking that initiative to kind of just keep yourself afloat, because a lot of the times, considering your identities and all the different things that make you who you are, society is going to try to knock you down, and that really applies to a lot of us like here in this room. So really just kind of staying focused to the vision, and I agree.
And it's crazy to say that like college made me realize that like it's hard to stay who you are. Well,
Oh my
it's hard to like
gosh,
to stay who you are and like show who you are in this in college, and not even this school alone, just colleges in general, because it's like what Gwen mentioned earlier. You're walking into a place where it's like it's a new environment. You're seeing all different types of people there, so it's like you don't know if you want to change who you are or stick to what you are, because like mentioned earlier, this college as well as other colleges, there are a lot of people who judge here. So it's like you don't know if you should be yourself without having the fear of like, is this person gonna say something, that person gonna say something? But I agree with what you said, like basically forget all that. Just be who you are. If you know who you are, then just keep writing it.
And not only that, but I think that like even like in general, not even just college, like high school, the workplace, like people never stop like changing. And some people tend to lose themselves. Yeah.
Literally.
Like growth is not linear. That's my number one thing. Like you're not gonna be who you were yesterday. You're not gonna be like, it's always changing. And I just feel like a lot of the time society needs to change with us, because we're gonna continue to grow and just keep thriving.
I forgot who it was. I think it was a high school teacher I had, but she always said change is fun. Change is is the best thing to possibly do.
Totally.
But tonight was a good episode.
It was
I feel
a great
like
conversation.
it was a
Thank you
great
so much,
conversation.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Of course.
So we would like to thank Gwen for joining us here tonight on The Bigger Picture. Don't forget that we're always here. Every other Thursday, we're here live in the studio. So if you want more of The Bigger Picture, come every other Thursday, watch us live here at 9:30, or just go to our YouTube page in WTOP and watch us and our past videos, and watch this episode too on YouTube. But don't forget to tune in the next episode of The Bigger Picture, April 27th, for the series finale. Tears. But until then, as always, don't forget to see things through the bigger picture.
Have a good night, guys.